In this class, we are going to understand more about Dhrupad as an art form. In the earlier classes, we have briefly touched upon Dhrupad and Dhamar and Khayal as art forms, but this particular class we're going to discuss deeply about what Dhrupad is, what are its characteristics, what are its main features, what are the instruments that are used in Dhrupad, and we're also going to listen to a few sample recordings of Dhrupad. So let's take a look at a brief history of Dhrupad. Where does Dhrupad come from? So Dhrupad claims the distinction of being the oldest form of Indian classical music. It existed even before Khayal came into the picture, which is it is the oldest form of Indian classical music which is heard today, and its origin can be traced back to the chanting of Vedic hymns and mantras. It is said to be a form of the Gandharva Veda. Now, there are different Vedas. The Vedic science of music, which is a branch of Samaved. The Samaved was chanted with the help of melody and rhythm called Samgan. Gradually, this developed into other vocal styles called Chanda and Prabandha, with introduction of verse and meter. The fusion of these two elements led to the emergence of Dhrupad. Now, the birth of Dhrupad, as we know it today, coincided with the Bhakti movement, particularly that of the Vallabh Sampradaya, and consequently was more devotional in nature. It was rendered in temples facing the divinity, full of devotion and bhav. This was the genesis of what became known as Haveli Dhrupad or Haveli Sangeet. Haveli Sangeet exists even today, though there are very less practitioners of Haveli Sangeet, but that was the birth of, that was from where Dhrupad took birth. Famous proponents of this style, the Haveli Sangeet or Haveli Dhrupad, is Ashtachap, which is 8 primary poets of the Vallabh Sampradaya, Swami Haridas, Nimbarka Sampradaya, and Guru Bani, which is the Sikh tradition. This then evolved into a sophisticated classical form of music, and in the 1500s came to be patronized by the royal courts. Raja Man Singh, which is the king of Gwalior, in particular, gave Dhrupad immense encouragement and introduced many refinements, being a musician himself. This style came to be known as the Darbari Dhrupad. So Darbari Dhrupad is another type of Dhrupad than the Haveli Sangeet. So famous proponents of this form of Dhrupad, of Darbari Dhrupad, are Tanna Mishra, who's also known as Miya Tansen, Baiju Bawra. Now, both of these received guidance from Swami Haridas. Both Tanna Mishra or Miya Tansen and Baiju Bawra received training from their guru Swami Haridas. Here, the nature of the compositions changed, with some eulogizing the emperors. Others were elaborations on the music itself, while others still described heroic deeds or even elegant poetry and admiration of female beauty. especially Srimati Radharani. Given its roots, the original language of the music was Sanskrit, but later transitioned to being primarily in Brij Bhasha. Brij Bhasha is a dialect in Hindi. The pristine nature of Dhrupad has survived to this day, and both majestic forms can be heard just as it was more than 1500 years ago. The Haveli form in temples and the Darbari form in concerts. Now let us see. So I'm going to share the screen with you. So if you see in the screen now, this is a picture of Swami Haridas teaching Mia Tansen in the presence of Emperor Akbar. So this is the Guru. This is Swami Haridas, and Mia Tansen is learning from him. So this Drupad was also taught by Guru Shishya Parampara in those times. And Emperor Akbar was very, very fond of music. And that is why he had employed Mia Tansen later in his darbar as a full-time court musician. Okay. So now the word Drupad is the Hindi form of the original Sanskrit Dhruvapada, which is a combination of Dhruva means structured or unmoving, and Pada means word or poem. Okay, so Dhruva means structured or unmoving, and Pada means word or poem. Conceptually, however, it has a different meaning. It refers to and emphasizes the cyclical construction of the music. It implies the return of the swara, which is tonal, kala, which means the time, and shabda, which is textual trajectories to a fixed point. As the Haveli form is only practiced in temples, for the remainder of this, we will primarily focus on the Darbari tradition, as this is what is performed on the concert circuit. As with most Indian classical music, the artist is accompanied by a tanpura. It is a drone instrument, which can be seen in the image which I just showed you, where Swami Haridas ji's hand, as well as beside Mia Tansen ji's hand, was playing an instrument which is called as the tanpura. The tanpura enables the singer's voice to be precisely pitched. For rhythmic accompaniment, the pakhavaj is traditionally used and is a barrel-shaped drum from which the tabla originated. Other than vocal, the Dhrupad style is also performed on stringed instruments such as the Rudraveena, the Surbahar, the Surshringar or Sursingar, and can actually be performed on any instrument that is able to produce microtones and slides between the notes of the scale. Because Drupad, singing Drupad involves a lot of singing of Shrutis and is also has deeper means, which is impossible to be exactly replicated on any key instrument like harmonium. So it needs an instrument. It actually needs a stringed instrument only on which all these Shrutis can be played and all the deeper means can be played. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen again and show you. So this is the Pakhavaj, which is used for the rhythmic accompaniment of Drupad. So it is it is made of wood. In between, if you see, this part is made of wood. This is made of animal skin, both the sides. That side is also is similar to what you see here, but it is plain, not like the black this black circle that you can see here is not that side. So over there, usually the Pakhavaj players put freshly fresh atta, the atta that we use for making chapatis, that atta is put there, and with the help of both their hands, Pakhavaj is played. Then there is yes. So these are the three instruments which are also used to sometimes accompany Drupad, but it's not exactly accompanying, but it can be played along with the Drupad, because these three instruments, the Rudra Veena, the Sur Singar, and the Sur Bahar, all these three instruments are string instruments, and they are um, they are capable of playing the Shrutis and the means also in the Drupad. So these are basically, again, there are two, you can see these in Rudra Veena. These two are big drones which are useful for uh, for the resonance of sound. So they have very deep resonance, all these instruments, very deep resonance. And then there is this part is made of wood. And there are strings here, you can see, on the instruments. Then there are frets also. Then you come to Sur Singar, you will see that there are again two drones. These are the strings, and this is the wooden part. And then there are some decorations and all. Same in Rudra Veena also, there are some decorations very nicely done. And then there is Sur Bahar, which looks very similar to sitar, but it is different. There are again two drones. These are the strings. These are the frets. And these are the, we call them pegs or khuntis. All the instruments have these khuntis to tighten or loosen the strings that are there on the instruments. And there are smaller khuntis also for the sympathetic strings. There are sympathetic strings also in all the instruments. Okay. So all these instruments, these three instruments particularly, are played in either G sharp or A, maximum A sharp. They're played in the scales where in which usually Dhrupad is sung, so that it can be played along with Dhrupad. Okay. Okay. Now let us see what are the components of a Dhrupad performance. There are different components which make a Dhrupad performance. There are two main components to a Dhrupad or a Darbari performance, which is known as the Alap and a composition. Now let us look at Alap. How is it presented? One of Dhrupad's distinct characteristics is its long, elaborate Alap, which can last up to an hour. It's a very slow progression and very intricate, very detailed progression of Alap, which actually is the soul of a raga. It can last up to an hour depending on what rag is it, and largely depending on who the musician is. So it is actually the expertise of a musician, his or her capacity to sing for an hour, and also the intellect. It is generally broken up into three sections. First is the alap, which is the unmetered. It doesn't have any tal accompaniment. It is not necessarily in any particular lay. There are different types of lay which are used to sing this unmetered alap. Then comes the jod, which is with steady rhythm. Jod comes with steady rhythm. And the jhala, which is accelerating strumming, which is jhala is fast, and there definitely is, in jod and jhala, there definitely is a particular lay that is used. Here, specific syllables are used rather than akar or sargams. So, saregama padhanisa is not used. Specific syllables like ridani, rinana, tom, tanana, nadirdir are used for the jod and the jhala. The exclusive use of akar, which produces an ah sound while singing, and sargam, singing notes by their names. Like the akar is basically producing a sound, ah sound while singing, and sargam is singing notes by their names, sare gama padhani, which is avoided. So akar is avoided, and so is sargam. So instead of these two, the syllables are used, which are rinana, tanana, tanana. Alap in Dhrupad calls for a subtle and delicate treatment of notes in the rag, while also allowing them complete freedom of expression. Different shades of the rag manifest in the renditions of the jod and jhala following the ala. So there are different shades of rag which are used in the renditions of the jod and jhala following the alap. So the main syllables that are used in Dhrupad alaps are ra, na, rana, numna, tere, ranana, rina rana, tararanara, rira, ranana, like that. So these are syllables are largely used. These syllables were derived from Sanskrit mantras, for example. Ri means Hari. Narayana means Naranana, Naranana. Num means Om. This syllable construction has been attributed to Behram Khan Dagar, which was one of the Dagar Bandhus who pursued Drupad. The alap is a skillful unfolding of the rag, whereas the alap is skillful unfolding of a rag where the artist slowly reveals its form. Alap is very slow and the soul of it is basically where the artist slowly reveals its form, slowly reveals the rag, carefully rendering each note in a progressive fashion while also working in its key phrases. Much emphasis is placed on note purity and clarity in Drupad, and this takes a lifetime of dedication and practice to develop. A lot of emphasis is placed on note purity and clarity in Drupad, and this takes a lifetime of dedication and practice to develop. It's not easy. A lot of note purity can come with many years of practice, many years of practice. And it also takes a lot of dedication, not just years, but a lot of dedication in those years and a lot of practice, a lot of hard work to develop note purity and clarity in Drupad. Now, application of right pitch is also very important in Drupad. Every note has a correct placement, a specific distance from the ones preceding and following it, and specific movement, which is the mean by which it arrives. It is only when these very subtle conditions are met that the combination of notes creates a certain rag. Their beauty and true character emerge, and the intended mood or rasa of the rag is established. The artist can also playfully tease by deliberately delaying the revealing of some aspects of the rag, leaving the listener often on edge, eagerly awaiting it. This concept is called tirobhav, which is the concealed aspect of the rag, and the opposite being avirbhav. This slow and deliberate melodic development gradually introduces a rhythmic pulse, which slowly increases in pace. When a steady pulse is introduced into the alap, it is called as jod. When the tempo has been greatly increased, or when the rhythmic element overtakes the melodic, it is called as jhala, also sometimes referred to as nom tom. Jhala is sung with the help of nom tom syllables. Now, the second important part of Drupad is composition after alap. The climax of a Drupad performance is the composition, which traditionally consists of 4 main sections. Although there are some compositions with just 2 sections, but traditionally there have been 4 main sections. Sthai, which is also called as base, named as the artist returns back to it after rendering each component. Then the Antara, which is different or intermediate. This comes between Sthai and Sanchari. Sanchari is free flowing. In this section, the singers has freedom to sing it in any register. Hence, the name is given as Sanchari because it can just, Sanchar means to move, and Sanchari means which is free flowing, which can move anywhere. Then comes the fourth part, which is called as Abhog, or which is called as completion. This feature, the poet or writers, this features the poet or the writer's name. So each composition, even in Drupad, is written by some composer. And the last Abhog, the last part of the composition, features the writer's or the poet's name who has composed that composition. The talas or cycles of beats commonly used are chautal of 12 beats, dhamar of 14 beats, jhaptal of 10 beats, sultal of 10 beats, and tevra of 7 beats. The predominant themes are bhakti. So Drupad has always been dominant about the bhakti ras, about the devotion aspect, about devotion towards God. That is why it was rendered, Drupad was sung more in temples than anywhere else. So the most prominent themes in Drupad are bhakti, which means devotion, shringar, little bit, which means love, or descriptions of Sangeet Shastra, which is about knowledge or intellect. Performance of the Bandish comprises largely of spontaneous improvisations within the Tal framework called as Upaj. Upaj gives the musician plenty of scope to creatively paint the mood of the rag. Upaj gives the musician plenty of scope to creatively paint the mood of the rag and composition using the lyrics, notes, and rhythm. It is hence not limited to doubling or tripling the rhythm, or even just finishing on the sum. So Upaj means it gives basically plenty of scope for the artist or musician to creatively paint the mood of the rag as he wishes to, and the composition using the lyrics, notes, and rhythm. So he can play with lyrics, notes, and rhythm in the framework of the rag and in the framework of what Drupad demands. So most of the times when when the artist or when the students give these examinations of Akhil Bharatiya Gandharv Mahavidyalaya or any other school like Bharat Gayan Samaj or any other school, many of them are say that Drupad is all about doing doubling the speed or tripling the speed, but it is not that. It is not limited to doubling or tripling the rhythm or even just finishing on the sum. There is also a more playful form called dhamar, which is lighter form of in the Drupad Parampara. It is set to 14 beats of Tal Dhamar. The compositions are associated with the play between Lord Krishna and the gopis of Raja during Holi, the spring festival of colors which are celebrated in India. The Drupad Gharanas. Let's come to Drupad Gharanas now. The Guru Shishya Parampara is very important in Drupad Gharana. The teaching of Drupad is very closely tied to the ancient system of Guru Shishya Parampara, which is the teacher-disciple tradition. It is an oral tradition that dates back thousands of years, where the students lived in the home of their guru and devoted themselves to riyaz or practice of music. The lives of students were focused on learning music and helping with the household chores of their teacher. This is what has um, been special about Drupad tradition, the Guru Shishya Parampara. Now, the classical texts have mentioned four important branches of Dhrupad Sangeet, which are very famous. It is the Gobarhani Bani, according to Krishna tradition. According to the Krishna tradition, it is Gobarhani Bani, associated with the Haveli Sangeet. Then there is Nauhari Bani, according to Shankar tradition. There is Daguri Bani, according to Bharat tradition. And Khandahari Bani, or Khandari Bani, according to Hanumat tradition. Let's first understand about Dagar Gharana. The Dagar lineage began with Baba Gopal Das Pandey in the 18th century. After a performance in Delhi, he was ostracized by his Pandey Brahmin community for accepting a pan given to him by the then Emperor of Delhi, Muhammad Shah Rangile, following a brilliant rendition of Dhrupad. As a result, he moved to Delhi, where he embraced Islam and was rechristened Baba Imam Khan Dagar. Baba Gopal Das Pandey is said to have some connection back to the great Swami Haridas. He had two sons, Haidar Khan and Behram Khan. It was the latter who is credited with establishing the Gaiki and passing down the pure form of Dagar Bani. Dagar Bani is known for preserving the purity and spiritual or devotional aspect of the raga. Its alaps are deep and meditative, whilst the compositions showcase intricate rhythmic patterns. The main representatives of the present-day Dagar Gharana are the descendants of Ustad Zakiruddin Khan as well as of Ustad Allahbande Khan's four sons, Nasiruddin, Rahimuddin, Imamuddin and Husainuddin. All of them extremely gifted and highly respected Dhrupad musicians. Nasir Moinuddin Dagar, who lived from 1919 to 1966, and Nasir Aminuddin Dagar, who lived from 1923 to 2000, now referred to as the senior Dagar brothers, were the elder sons of Nasiruddin and grandsons of Allahbande Khan. Their Jugalbandi captivated audiences all over India and even in Europe, bringing about a major revival of the dying genre. After the death of Moinuddin, their younger brothers Nasir Zahiruddin and Nasir Fayyazuddin also gained fame as a duo. Major contributions to the upkeep of this tradition also came from the sons of Rahimuddin and Husainuddin, Rahim Fahimuddin and Hussain Saiduddin respectively, as well as the grandsons of Zakiruddin Khan, Ustad Zia Moinuddin, who revived the majestic Rudraveena as a concert instrument, and Zia Fariduddin. The rich heritage of the Dagar tradition lives on in the remaining Dagar brothers and their sons as well-groomed disciples from outside the family. Wasifuddin Dagar, Uday Bhavalkar, Bahauddin Dagar, Gundecha brothers, Ritvik Sanyal, Pushparaj Koshti and Nancy Lesh are some of the Dhrupad proponents. Now comes the Darbhanga Gharana. Darbhanga tradition is one of the two main living Dhrupad Gharanas, besides Dagar tradition. The Malik family represents Darbhanga Gharana of Dhrupad. Radha Krishna and Kartaram, the court musicians for the Nawab of Darbhanga, are considered the founders of the tradition. A link to the musical line of Tansen is traced through Bhupat Khan, the teacher of the founders of the family. The performance of the Darbhanga Gharana of Dhrupad singers can be distinguished mainly by the way compositions are sung after the alap A major emphasis is placed on the rhythmic aspect of the singing. According to Abhay Narayan Malik, the Darbhanga tradition is associated with Gauhar Bani. The family has a rich stock of compositions to draw upon. Prominent singers include Ram Chatur Malik, Vidur Malik, Abhay Narayan Malik, and Prem Kumar Malik. The Talwandi tradition is associated with the western parts of India, specifically Punjab. Presently, the tradition has very few singers, all living in Pakistan. Prominent singers of the tradition include Muhammad Hafiz Khan and Muhammad Afzal Khan. Hafiz Khan claims that Talwandi Gharana represents Khandar Bani. Dilip Chandra Bedi, who learned from Talwandi Gharana members in 1920s, claimed the Nayak Chand Khan and Suraj Khan were the founders of Talwandi Gharana. Contrary to other opinions regarding Drupad, Hafiz Khan places Islam at the center of Drupad philosophy. The mantra sung by him during the Alap is Nitya Tarana, Tarana Allah, which is the Almighty in Islam. The Talwandi Gharana appears to have similarities to the Darbhanga Gharana described above. A few recordings that exist show extremely fast concluding portions of the Alap, and the compositions display highly complex rhythmic variations. Now comes the Betiya Gharana. According to Falguni Mitra, the main proponent of Betiya Gharana has compositions available from all the Vanis, though more emphasis is placed on Khandar Bani. The ornamentations and rhythmic variations are strictly applied during the rendition of Drupad. He states that the Gharana originated in the royal state of Betiya in Bihar. Pyar Khan of Seni Gharana and Haidar Gharana are considered to be the major influence on this Gharana. Now we saw that there are the main traditions of Drupad Gharana are the Dagar Gharana, the Darbhanga Gharana, the Talwandi Gharana, and the Betiya Gharana. So which are also known as Banis. Gharanas are basically Banis. So they have Banis basically means Gharanas or styles of singing. So these are the four main Banis or Gharanas of Drupad, which we just saw. And now we will listen to a few recordings of this particular forms. Okay, so this was a glimpse of Dhrupad that we heard right now. It you have heard Alap, which is unmetered, then also Jod, and this the last part which you just heard for a minute or so was Jhala. So we'll also listen to Rudraveena and Surbahar in the next class, which are also uh, the instruments on which Dhrupad is played. So we'll listen to it in the next class.